Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Considered podcast with me, April, your host. I am very honored today to have two of my friends here, Pat Rudd and Jean Feltz. And today we're going to talk about a nonprofit called Helping Parents Heal and another one called GRASP, or Grief Recovery After Substance Passing. A little bit about how you guys got involved with this. I'm very interested in how you became involved with these organizations. Can you go into that, Pat, a little bit? Just get us started.
Sure. Well, in 2013, my son Tyler, at the age of 20, passed from an overdose. I didn't know people who had lost their children at that time. I didn't know anybody who had lost a child from overdose or anybody from overdose. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty overwhelming. You really don't know quite what to do with that. Right. So, as I went through my time and tried to figure out what to do, I thought I'd really like to get together with a grief group, but I didn't want to be with other parents that lost their children due to sickness, illness, accidents. Because no matter what, there's a stigma with addiction.
Right.
You just feel that stigma. You're not sure who will walk away from you because of it or look badly at you because your child died of a overdose.
Right.
So it took me a little while, and I wanted to go to a medium, but I didn't know any mediums around. I grew up in New Jersey, and my mom, we'd go to psychics every so often. In fact, my mother would have psychic parties at her house, and all the relatives would come over and they would read our futures, but I'd never been to a medium. So, and in the South, it's not easy to find a medium.
No, it's not.
I didn't know people, and I found it wasn't subject you really bring up to just anybody.
Correct. That's true.
So luckily one day at work, a woman, we just got talking, and I said, do you know any mediums? Because the subject came up, and she said, yeah, I've got a great one, So right away I booked an appointment with them. I think I got in the next day or something. I was just so anxious. And that was a turning point in my grief, a total turning point. It was 8 months that Tyler had been gone. I left that session feeling like I had spent an afternoon with my son.
Oh.
I just felt like we had the best just conversations, and he told me basically all these things that were going on in my head. I mean, I would stand over the kitchen sink and look out the window and scream up at him, why did you do this?
Yeah.
And at one point he said to me, through the medium, Mom, I think I'd be afraid to be back there because you're really upset with me.
Oh, yeah.
And he told me that, he could help me from where he was versus he couldn't help me while he was on Earth.
Right.
And just so many things. He told me, he says, nobody's going around pointing at you that you're the woman who lost her son to an overdose. He says, that's not happening. Right. I was like, wow, okay, that was all amazing, because those questions kept going through my mind. And somewhere in the conversation, he said to me, Mom, you're going to be talking about me and my addiction and my death to large groups of people. And I just looked at the medium and I just said, oh, yeah, right. I said, I can't ever see me talking about this in any kind of public situation.
Sure. Yeah.
So within a month, I ran, and all pure by accident. I wasn't looking for grief sites, and GRASP just came up on my computer when I was looking at something. It just appeared. So I looked into it, and GRASP is a international actually, grief group for anybody who's lost a loved one to substance use.
Okay.
So I looked up on their webpage, and the closest place they had was Athens, which was, I kept thinking, maybe I'll go. I contacted the woman up there and said, well, I might take the drive or whatnot. Then I contacted the president of GRASP, and we talked, and she said, if you want to start your own group, we'll help you. So I did. I started a grass group. It started it planning on it in August, and finally January 2015 is when I had my first meeting.
Okay.
And I can't tell you what a wonderful thing it is to meet other parents, and and it's not open. It's not just parents; it's siblings, grandparents, cousins, whatever. The majority of the people that have come all along have been parents.
Yes.
And so I got to meet a few people, and then when Jean's son passed, she talked to a woman who was actually coming to my group. And so Jean and I met. We met for lunch to just talk. And I remember the first thing she's saying to me, well, you're still standing, so I guess we get through this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Slowly into the conversation, and Jean remembers it more than I do because I brought up mediums. I feel like I'm usually careful about that when I do that, because some people, there's still another stigma.
Right.
Well, you tread lightly on that. You're like,
Did I?
well,
Okay.
a bunch of us other moms have tried this, and that was one of them. Kind of putting it all out there, all options. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you tread lightly, and Jean, you walked away. How did you walk away thinking?
My first thought was, oh boy, mediums. I don't know what to do with this information. It just does not compute, because that was not in my past in any aspect, And I walked away thinking, are they just a little bit out there? But then again, maybe I had a dysfunctional relationship. It wasn't your typical run of the mill to begin with. So maybe we can continue this in a new way. Basically, when you love somebody so much, like you lose a child, someone super close to you, it all goes out the window, all your beliefs, all your past, and all you have is that love, and it has to go somewhere. Yeah. And I believe that when the conditioning and stories go out the window, you're open to anything.
Right.
And that was a turning point for me. I mean, the first thing I did was talk to the only other living relative I have, like a close one, is my mom's sister, Irish Catholic, who's been going to church since the 1940s, every Sunday at Mass, and kind of treaded even more lightly with her. And she said, well, she lives in New York. She said, well, why don't you just come down by me and we'll make an appointment and go see the Long Island medium. And I was like, man, Julie. I was so flabbergasted. And that really, it kind of gave me, I think in the back of my mind, the permission to, she said, it's in the Bible. And I'm like, okay, because I went to Catholic school, but we never read the Bible. So I don't know what's in the Bible,
Right. Yeah.
But all I knew is my child couldn't have been a part of my life, and now he's not.
Yeah.
And I've learned over the past 5 years that he's always going to be, with me in some aspect. We're always connected, and life and consciousness and all of that. It's so much bigger than just your physical body here. Yes. It's been quite a road, but
yeah.
I truly believe there are, if you could call them, gifts in grief, and opportunities for growth.
Oh, most definitely. And
I wouldn't have learned so nearly what I've learned or explored if my child was still here.
Yeah, losing a child is so, it feels so unnatural, because we always think, I'm going to be the one to go first. I'm the mother, that's how it's supposed to work. And then that paradigm gets destroyed. And then when you add in the substance, the overdose bit, that's a whole other different kind of grief that you have to deal with. And with society's ideas on that, and everybody's got opinions and ideas. And I tend to think that unless you've been through something, they don't really count. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, if I've not been through something, I really don't need to judge somebody else or comment or have really a strong opinion, because I don't have any context for that opinion. But that is tough. It's really tough to have that added stigma to it. And it does, you said it beautifully, that it just kind of eliminates everything else, and all you have left is this love.
I know when I first went, before I found the medium, I started reading near-death experiences books.
Right.
Oh,
I
yeah, to
think I
find out
was
what it was like, get a glimpse, or yeah.
just, where is he? What is he doing? You know,
Right.
it's your child. You want to take care of them. You want to know where they are. And that
Absolutely.
helped a lot too. Listening to other people's near-death experiences really, really did help. You know,
Yes.
it definitely did. And you learn it was just their body that died. It wasn't their soul. You know,
Right.
just their body was
Exactly.
gone.
And
Exactly.
a lot of the grieving is, and it's, you know, it's important and it's real and it's serious, but it's really us grieving for things. It's not them. Like, they're in a good place. They're not suffering. It's
Right.
us and everything, all the attachments we have. And it's learning to let go of that so we can find new,
Yes.
you know, new ways of interacting and exploring and learning.
Yeah. And loving them
Yeah.
in a different state, in a different way. And I think it's beautiful. So these groups, both of them offer quite a bit of resources. And they're quite large. I saw pictures of just, I don't know, it looked like 50 people. Like, there's a lot of people that have gone through this, but you can feel like you're on an island when it first happens to you. And so it's amazing that you've come together to offer this and make this available. And I'm really happy that you're here today. And this group is open to pretty much anyone, religious or non-religious.
Yeah, anybody. Yeah, it makes no difference. Helping Parents Heal is open to parents, grandparents, and they're doing sibling groups now also.
Oh, that's good.
So,
Yes,
which
because
is
that's
a whole other issue.
Yeah, that's an entirely different experience as well for the siblings. So that's beautiful that they're doing that, and things aren't discussed. There's no belief system that's being pushed, or there's no dogmatism whatsoever. It's just encouraging open discussion of what you've been through,
Absolutely.
and how you're experiencing it.
So Helping Parents Heal started, I came up with the idea with Pat because not everybody who comes to GRASP meetings wants to explore those avenues, but
Right.
a lot of people do. I think most people want more than they're finding.
Right.
So we kind of have over time kind of had one-on-one conversations and let them know we felt that way too.
Right.
And we started an affiliate Helping Parents Heal group in the area.
Okay.
And so some people, and granted, it's not everyone is a parent-child situation, but for most people, that seems to be a place where they can plug in.
That's beautiful.
And there's such a bond between parents that have lost their children. I mean, it's the second you meet them. There's no pretense. There's no, you're basically, it's your soul. It's your, you are bearing all because you know that they lost their child and you lost your child.
And grief can be so isolating.
Yes,
it can. Yeah. But I mean, I can't tell you the countless times for several years that I've told quite a few of the people in the GRASP group that I didn't know how I was going to take my next step. And when I looked at you, I saw you do it. So thank you for that. I mean, they were doing nothing other than just being and going through their own process, but just that bond and seeing other people experience the same thing, it can be helpful like nothing else that I've ever experienced.
Yeah. So this has really helped you through your grieving process. You feel like this has really made a big difference in terms of moving through, and it, as a parent, I would imagine it never really goes away. I mean, it just is, that's a part of you, it
doesn't, you kind of grow around it. You just can hold more, I think.
That's a good way to put it.
Love them in another way. You just
yeah. And still, I mean, there are still times I'll have conversations with Joseph in spirit and say, but I can't hug you. That's what I want more than anything, because I'm a human, I'm a mom. I want a hug. I want to see your eyes. I want to hear your laugh. But
yes,
all part of the process, I guess.
That is absolutely true.
Yeah.
just off the top of your head, and are there any really good books that you'd recommend to people?
Oh
There's so
boy,
many books.
I know. I have a library.
Yeah.
I do too. And and of course there's books that with, the near death experiences, the books that mediums write,
Mhm.
and the books that people write about losing a loved one to substance use.
Mhm.
Um, some grab my attention, and so I always tell the story. Not too long after Tyler passed, my daughter said, "If one more book comes in this house, Mom, we're going to have to move out. There's no more room," because I just kept ordering books all the time.
I understand that.
I
And
think
I
one
can
of the
tell
one
you,
of the
Go
first
ahead.
ones in the beginning, one of the books that first really gave me some hope was Dr. Eben Alexander, Proof of Heaven.
Yes.
Yes.
That was actually a mainstream bestseller, like on I don't know where
Yes.
they're listed, but I know it was a national bestseller.
Yes, that is I've read his book, and I believe too, he tells his story you can find it on YouTube as well. And it's quite fascinating.
We actually went on a retreat with him, Pat and me, for a
Oh,
long weekend once, and it was pretty neat.
that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
But
he told his story, and
Yeah.
it was wonderful. Yeah.
And what that did was it opened up a whole different avenue of healing, I think a different modality, I guess, for me was brainwave entrainment, and
Mm.
to do with meditation and certain audio sounds that change your brain waves and things like that. I've had some experiences, how could I say, after praying for decades as a Catholic person, just going through rote,
Right.
Hail Mary, Our Father, and there's no interaction that way. But during meditation, I truly feel that I've had connection and experiences with the divine.
Yes,
And I think that's really just another way of praying.
I think so. I mean, so you've had some spiritual experiences as a result. I did notice on the website, the Helping Parents Heal website, that you have sections on meditation and sound and different categories. I found that fascinating, because that is certainly a very good avenue of healing. I think the thing is like, in our world, we're taught to go outward to get what we need to help us, but there really isn't anywhere to go but inward to find that healing. And
it's hard. And I tried outward avenues, therapists and churches and pastors, and
right.
there was nothing there for me.
Right.
I mean, it barely touched the surface of the healing that I felt like I needed.
Yes. And what you've done is you've done two things. You've brought together people that can provide understanding, because they're walking through the same experiences. And then you've given them some resources to help them on their healing journey, because that's what it is. I mean, it's bottom line, that's what it is. Like, you get fast forwarded into a healing journey you didn't really sign up for, or feel like you signed up for.
Oh yeah, it's the group nobody ever asked to join, right? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So that's a really incredible thing. Like you said, I mean, if there are gifts through that journey inward to heal and to try to come into some understanding and to connect with like-minded people, is a beautiful one.
It is, and it also makes us feel like we're doing something. We're doing something to help our kids' names stay alive. We don't want people to forget about them.
Right.
And also, we don't know how to deal with death in this country.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Any kind of death, let alone the death of a child. And
Yes.
that's where there really needs some work on that somehow, because there are people who haven't heard from since Tyler died that I knew, because they didn't know what to say.
Yeah, they were terrified.
That's a shame. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. Well, I think if anything, the last 2.5, almost 3 years now it's brought forth this realization that we, in Western culture, we have a tremendous discomfort with death. And we've talked a lot about that on this show. I had a death doula on a couple months ago. And I know with Millie America, we've discussed it. There is a tremendous discomfort with death, and we go to great lengths to hide it or to pretend or to deny that it's part of normal life. And I think it's easy to do that until something happens in life that alters that course. And you both have had that something happen. I have too, but in a different way. And it really does change like the way you look at that. I mean, it is everybody's destiny at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that everybody will go through. And it's something that you'll go through yourself, you'll die, plus people around you will always die. And the fact that we never prepare ourselves for it, I'll never forget the first day when Tyler was gone. I didn't know what to do with my emotions.
Right.
You know, in between, you know, when the people finally left the house that night, at 2:00 in the morning, I was walking around in the neighborhood just screaming. Yeah, you know, just screaming because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get those emotions out. I figured, well, everybody here knows that he died, so if they
You're just
see
gonna
me
have to
screaming,
deal.
they'll understand.
Yeah.
But it's like you just don't know what to do with that.
Right.
I still don't. I couldn't
My
tell you.
initial feelings were that the stigma originally, like initially, like, oh my God, are we going to have to move? How are we going to show our faces in the community again? What are they going to think of us?
Yeah.
And then within the next 2 or 3 days, I did something probably quite opposite. I had a pool party, invited our whole neighborhood over. I had the kids, like classes, teachers came over. We just talked about it. I just put it out there, let everybody know. And that was, my husband thought I was a little out there, but he went with it, and it was the best thing, you know, rather than hide. Because how do you live like that? How do you function?
You can't. Well, and we
No.
have an entire society that lives hidden. I mean, pretending that reality isn't reality and things aren't really happening. And if I keep my head in the sand, I don't have to face this.
But how many mechanisms, coping mechanisms and things do you have to come up with to try to survive like that? And none of them seem positive.
None of them seem positive, and they all meet their end at some point. And then what? And then what you have done, which is brave and courageous, is you've run headlong into the experience and you've embraced it entirely. And you've been a model to show others how it's done. And you just don't know what a service that is to be, to be able to, this is reality. This is what feelings look like. And it's okay that we have them, it's okay that we're not always, life is not always a 30-minute sitcom, right? This is not the way it works in real life. And I think people, not that we need to go around feeling sad all the time or thinking about death every moment of the day, but I think it's important to be able to integrate that as a part of normal life, because it is. It absolutely is. And I think too, and I don't know about you, but something about going through something very traumatic and maybe almost dying or having an NDE or losing someone close to you, you start to appreciate life in a really marked way that you didn't before. And to me, it's getting comfortable or dealing with death also makes life more richer.
It's true. There's joy in such little things that I would have overlooked before, that now it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So it does give you a whole different appreciation.
You also watch people who are just upset about petty little things at that point. They're complaining about this, and you just want to look at them and just, hey, this is not important in the scheme of things.
No, there really is so few things that are really worth our attention.
Yeah. And that brings it to the forefront when you lose someone like that. It's just, nothing much else is important.
That's
love
right.
and life and and just being with our loved ones.
Another thing that Pat and I have both got involved in since then is helping people who are struggling with addiction. We're both board members of nonprofits in the state that deal with addiction and all the issues around it, with overdose also.
Oh, wow.
We're volunteer coalition members in a couple of different counties, and I am on a state level also.
Wow.
And it's been good to know that it doesn't fix the problem, but we're doing what we can to make a difference.
That's a wonderful. I wasn't aware y'all were involved in that. That's really, are you familiar with Dr. Gabor Mate and his takes on addiction?
No.
Okay. He's an interesting, I would definitely recommend looking into him. He specializes in addiction, and it's quite fascinating. What I love about what you're saying is, this has really catapulted you to take a real serious interest in your community and make some tremendous efforts to try to be part of the solutions.
The only sense I could make of my son's death is to try to use that experience to show other people how not to let that happen, how to learn, how to grow.
Yeah.
And I know that he would want that also. So it's it feels good in my heart.
That's wonderful.
I always say that there are also people in recovery. They made took a good chunk of my grief to help me, letting me just know there was nothing I could have done.
Right.
And you feel that you should have done something, but working with people in recovery, and they're honest with you, no, there's nothing you could have done. He wasn't going to listen to you. He wasn't going to listen to anybody.
Right.
And that was a major relief.
Yes.
To help get rid of the what ifs. They're always there. They're always going to be there, the what ifs. But to really have somebody tell you who's in that situation, you couldn't have done a darn thing.
Right.
Absolutely.
The insidious part of addiction is it's really the person experiencing it really has to also be the person that solves it. Like, they have to take responsibility, and sometimes they just don't have the strength to do that. And no amount of, pleading and begging and on the part of somebody who loves them can really make a difference until they're really ready.
That's true. There's a lot that was lacking, and there still is in our society, though. And we've learned that and been working to make differences. Like on the insurance website before, there would be no tab that would come up if you were in crisis and you needed a rehab or you needed to detox or something like that. And now there is.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Lots of stuff.
Do you
just
feel like
doctors prescribing medication? Sometimes they would prescribe way too liberally. And we worked with, the PDMP nationally, or helped in some way. It's not our expertise at all, but we definitely worked with them to get, the states over state lines to share with one another. So you couldn't, go to another state and get another prescription, and to get doctors to have to take required training every year and to be less generous with the prescriptions they prescribe, just all different avenues.
That's excellent. Yeah, I'm so glad you've been doing this, because this is a major problem in our country, and especially in the rural areas of our country with the opioid crisis. It's unbelievable how many lives that has cost.
And we thought it was bad in the beginning, and it's after so many millions of dollars and funds have been poured into it, it's worse now than it was, when our children passed.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's at the highest rate right now. Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah. And a lot of that has
since
to do
COVID
with fentanyl. But
fentanyl
COVID had a big
and the
issue
borders,
too.
with the borders and COVID.
But the fentanyl coming in, and they're putting fentanyl in the drugs, and people don't have a chance.
Pretty deadly stuff.
Yes.
Very deadly stuff. Yeah. Do you feel like addiction and one thing I keep hearing is like, there's so much about the shame component in regards to addiction. And there's so much you've mentioned about society's perceptions about overdose and the way that we treat people who become victims of addiction, the way that we look at them, and in turn, the way they look at themselves. I think that it is definitely a medical condition, and it's something that needs to be looked at as such. And I think the shame component is one of the things that perpetuates it continuing. Would you agree with that?
Shame stops people from going for help.
Right.
A lot, admitting that they need help. And until we get rid of that stigma,
there's an effort around it. There really is. The stigma's still there, but there's also a good amount of people that now understand that it's a lot more than just shame on you, bad decision, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not so easy as a decision, I mean, at some point it becomes like such a dependency that the pain that comes from not indulging in that thing is just,
Right.
it's tremendous.
And they want to get out of it, but they don't know how.
Yeah, no one wants to be caught in a cycle of that they can't escape from. They just
Addiction is like that with cigarettes and caffeine and alcohol and drugs, and there's so many addictions.
Yeah, we talked about this. I remember discussing addiction, that it's like a well-worn, hole, like in the ground, and you're stuck in it, and you can't seem to get your vehicle up out of it. And help is, the community is crucial.
Yes.
So being alone, hiding, feeling ashamed, keeping secrets, those are all things that perpetuate that illness. And I think it's wonderful that you are taking such great strides to work and help the community and to share your experiences, and really grateful for y'all. And I just had no idea how much you do. And gosh, bravo, like that's incredible. It takes such strength and courage.
Yeah, I think for Jean, just this way of saying me, it just became part of our life. It's just, I never look into anything that I'm doing for grief or addiction as time not well spent or anything. It's just
no, it helps give my life purpose for me.
Yes.
That's what it's all about, helping other human beings.
Right.
Yeah. It took us both on a whole other journey in our lives where I don't know where we'd be.
Yes.
If this hadn't happened, who knows what we'd be doing? But
yes,
definitely this pointed us in that way, and we haven't
beautiful.
stopped. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming on and sharing about this. And I'm going to put all the information below this video, and also in the audios, folks out there, if they're looking for you and want to connect. One quick question: where are these groups, and how often do they meet? And
that all changed when COVID happened.
I see.
We used to get together regularly, and now everything seems to be on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
And it's turned into more like a core group of people that talk and text and go out to breakfast, lunch, dinner, kind of get together kind of thing. So we don't have a regular meeting for helping parents heal. GRASP, you started again with monthly meetings, right, in Coweta County?
Yeah. We usually do Sundays. This month we're not doing a meeting. This month, the 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day. Okay. So we'll be doing some type of event for that. And right now, pretty much too, if somebody new calls, usually Jean and I'll go out and talk to them. Okay. Usually they need some help right away, and they don't want to be in a big group right away.
Yeah.
And so to make them feel comfortable, you sit down and talk to them and get to know them and see. Meetings aren't for everybody.
Right.
I think they are.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. It's like, if you have a problem, you got to talk about it with a group of people. But Jean and I've known people who literally have just pretty much locked themselves in their houses and not continued with their lives, and and which is really sad.
But it's also been great how the types of people we've had, like school teachers, and we've had rappers from Atlanta come sit down with us middle-aged moms and talk and spend the day, and it was great with both of them. It's
wow.
There's something for everybody there. That's because everybody has that in common.
Yeah. That is what ties you all together, no matter what walk of life you come from.
I've even been to the state capitol and sat down with the assistant governor. What would his title be called again?
Lieutenant governor, I think.
Yeah, that's it, lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
And to tell my story with my nonprofit, and it was amazing to hear that he told me a story about his relative and his neighbor. And so it's really everywhere.
Yes,
It's everywhere.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
And I think this particular episode is going to raise awareness. And hopefully if there's somebody out there that's really just needing to talk or needing to connect or needing to feel understood or really just needing to feel a reason to keep going because of their loss, you all are there as resources. And
Absolutely.
wonderful. It's really
And
wonderful.
there's also a great recovery center in Noonan. I met him, I think 2 years after Tyler died, but anyhow, it's Coweta Force. And for people
Yes.
out there that want to be in recovery,
Okay.
getting out of maybe a rehab, they are a great resource. They will help.
Yeah, we've
They will
watched
help.
Hank's group grow from a little, 4 or 5 people to, we used to go to the meetings regularly because there were
Yes.
so few attendees that we were trying to help support him. And now we kind of backed away and don't go because there's so many people that need to talk that, we would just, it's more important that they talk than we talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was also healing there to talk with other young adults and them cry and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't want my mom to ever be in that position. And, to think that maybe our stories made a difference in their lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's boy, that's powerful.
Yeah.
That is really powerful. Well, is there anything else y'all want to share before we finish here?
As far as books go, if you go to the Helping Parents Heal website, there is a huge resource of books on death and grief and the afterlife and so many different avenues you might want to haven't even heard of. So a wealth of knowledge there.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful.
And if anybody in the community ever has an issue or anything, they could reach out to either of us. You're going to post contact information. We'd be happy to meet with them.
Yes, I'm going to post everything below this video and in the audio so that if anybody needs to find y'all, you can. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being there.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And we're so excited that you had us.
Oh, you're welcome anytime. And yes, please keep coming on because I think people need to know you're out there. You're bringing so much comfort and awareness, and it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thanks everybody for joining us
Thanks.
today. And we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Bye.